Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome, everybody. All right, let's see what we're up to here. I have bad streaming status, never a good sign. All right, there's a lot of people in already. I'm just going to try to shoot through some of them, because you guys have been busy talking. All right. Bill M.E. Actually, it doesn't look like even I can get back to the beginning. Kai Lucas Zachary, Anna Morbido, Florcandia, Dark Halcyon X, Tim Darling, Just a Girl, Dark Wolf's Den, Jacqueline Loa Isa, Preliminal. Okay, I think I'm caught up now. Oh, still a ways to go. It's pretty bad when you're behind and you haven't even started yet. Okay, you guys are all talking about weird time things. I was going to talk about that too, so I pushed that to the front since you've already started. All right, I'm never going to catch up. All right, anyway, so the time thing I wanted to talk about was yesterday on Redcon, somebody posted this thing, has anyone else been off a day? And like half the planet came on here and said yes, 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 yes. Interesting because it happened to me too. Yesterday was Tuesday, but I just kept thinking it was Wednesday. And I just had to keep reminding myself, no, it's only Tuesday. I mean, I kept thinking I have to get ready for the live stream, and I have pickleball in the morning, and I have this and this and this and this, and I didn't have any of it. And on Sunday, I kept thinking, was it Saturday? I kept thinking that it was Sunday. So it was really bad yesterday, though. So I don't know. There's just something weird. But what was weird was there were so many people that had the same thing. And this is just not something that I have that often. So I just thought it was really weird. I lost Tuesday. See, for us, it was the reverse. We like gained a day. Almost everybody on here said they gained a day. So on Tuesday, they thought it was, oh, is that right? No, right, you're right. Yeah, we gained a day. We thought that it was Wednesday, but it was only Tuesday. So almost everybody, there was like one person who said they lost a day. But Tuesday seemed to be an extra weird one that everybody thought it was Wednesday. So I don't know. I just noticed on Reddit that, or on Redcon, that there's like 3 threads right now about time being weird. That one, and then there's off a week, time doesn't feel right. There's just, it's not that we do talk about this a lot, possible indicator of time having sped up. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems like it goes faster and faster. It's just, we have those threads fairly often, but not usually like 3 in a day. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if that's, guys, has it been happening for you guys? Ghosty333 lost a day, or did you gain a day? So you gain a day if you think it's Wednesday and it's only Tuesday. So somehow you got an extra day. Now, if you think it's Tuesday, Tuesday and it's really Wednesday, then you lost a day. But if you think it's Wednesday and it's really Tuesday, then you gained a day. All right, let's see where we're at here. All right, so we've got that one. Doink. I had a double Thursday, October 9th. That was a way back. You remember all the way back to October 9th? Dark Halcyon X, thank you for coming. So you said you watched all my videos, so that's cool. I was super dead tonight. It flew by at work. Yeah, I've been doing acupuncture on Wednesdays, and he's doing one where he's like putting more energy into me. So it actually really does help, but I don't know if it helps longer than a day. But I'm telling you, it's a good thing to get done on on the day before, or the evening before the live stream, because it is really helping me stay awake. Maybe I'm using all my energy up on the live stream. I don't know. I lost one day before some weeks ago. I think I lost it Thursday. Yeah, again, so confused thinking about it though. Reptiles did not have live birth. Exactly. Apparently, about 20% of them have live birth now. Now, I saw a video a couple weeks ago about some reptile had live birth, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I mean, the barriers between everything are breaking down, and it's just another one that used to be something that marked mammals. I think there was what, only one mammal that laid eggs, and that was the platypus. Yeah, wouldn't that make the birthing reptiles mammals? Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Okay, so here we go. This is even extra weird because first, 20% of all living snakes and lizards give birth to live young only. No. No, 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 no. Okay, so the story is that they retain the egg in the womb, and then the egg exterior kind of the exterior shell slowly thins, and so the critter can burst out of that shell and then come out live. So part of the story was that the in normal eggs, the critters, the babies get their calcium off the shell. So they're like, oh well, if the shell thins down that much, then how do they get calcium? And now they're saying, oh well, in those animals, the womb itself somehow emits some kind of calcium, and so that goes into the eggs. And this is like an early womb, or like an early placenta form or something. Okay, but that's not the half of it though, because apparently the story here is actually that they've got species that do both. Some, like the ones in the mountains, are doing egg birth, and the ones on the coast are doing live birth, is the story here. Evolution in action, lizards moving from eggs to live birth. Evolution has been caught in the act, according to scientists who are decoding how a species of Australian lizard is abandoning egg laying in favor of live birth. Along the warm coastal lowlands of New South Wales, the yellow-bellied three-toed skink lays eggs to reproduce. But individuals of the same species living in the state's higher, colder mountains are almost all giving live birth. Only two other modern reptiles, another skink and a European lizard, use both types of reproduction. Okay, so this is totally new. There were not any live bearers at all, but now we have three species that can do either, which is ridiculous. And we have 20% of living snakes and lizards giving live birth. I cry foul on this one. No, it was not like that. As who was it on there who just jumped ahead immediately and said, nuh-uh, nuh-uh, reptiles do not do live birth. But now they do. Eggs to baby switch creates nutrient problem, and they're talking about what I was talking about earlier. So they're basically saying that retaining the eggs is harder on the mother, but it makes it easier on the babies. So there's like this give and take situation. So they're saying, well, maybe it's hot along the coast, and so the mothers lay eggs, but up in the mountains, the babies need more help and they're live birthing or something. I don't know. It sounds all just contrary to everything I ever learned, so it's just kind of hard for me to even follow any of the rationale that they put forth now, because I just don't trust any of it. But I mean, because we all grew up being taught that this is bad and this is impossible and the blah blah. Now they're saying some totally different thing. Reptiles laid eggs. Exactly. It's impossible. I know. Now, see, it's not. I know that reptiles all laid eggs, but I know fish. Some of them are live bearers, and they do it like that. Supposedly, they retain the eggs, but the things they hatch out are that big. But so it doesn't totally shock me that this change. I mean, it's definitely a change, but the concept of like retaining the eggs and then laying them is sort of in my brain already because of certain fish. But so basically, they're saying, oh, it's not the same as mammals because they don't have a placenta, although the womb acts kind of like a placenta, but it is not actually one. So they're kind of they're just making the difference, smaller, more subtle. Mammals produce milk. Yeah, let's see. Is there anything that's a good question. I think now we had birds. Oh, you know what? Cockroaches produced milk. Remember? That was the new superfood, cockroach milk. I wonder if any of these lizards produce milk. Lizards produce milk. Let's spell that right. Technically, only mammals lactate. Milk is defined as secretions from mammary glands. However, there are animals other than mammals that produce milk-like substances. All right, now you can see I've clicked on this before. Let's see if there's any new beasts on that list. Oh yeah, pigeons. I did a video on the pigeons, but those are mammals. Oh, okay, so that's just pigeons. 5 animals you never knew make milk for their babies. Okay, we've got pigeons. We got cockroaches. Pigeons, cockroaches, pseudoscorpions. Now that's new. I only knew about pigeons and cockroaches. Female pseudoscorpions produce a milk-like substance, but she secretes it from her ovaries. Okay, that's new. Discus fish. The milk of discus fish doesn't look milky. Their milk is a mucus-based secretion that goes to the bodies of both parents. Taita African caecilian are amphibians. Okay, so there we've got our amphibian now. They've lost their limbs and look like worms. The Taita African caecilian has developed a more elaborate style of parenting. To feed their babies, the female transforms the top layer of her skin into a thick layer of protein and fat. The infant Sicilian, I don't know how to pronounce that, scrape off the skin using modified teeth. Okay, so we've got some new styles of the milk now. We have this gross thing looking guy with the fatty skin. We've got the discus fish, and we've got the pseudoscorpion. Yep, I think there's going to be a lot more of these. You can see the trend. All right, let's see what we got over here. Fish, yeah. How do you milk a cockroach? You know what? Let me pull this article up. Cockroach milk superfood. That's a good question. Cockroach milk is new superfood, but would you drink it? When did this come up? Sometime last year, I think. The disgusting superfood trend that just won't die. The female Pacific beetle, one of the rare cockroach species that gives birth to live bugs, feeds her babies milk. It's one of the most nutritious things you can drink. Right, then they're not giving much info on how you would take this to market, though. I don't see how that would be cost efficient, considering how little milk you would get out of one roach. Okay, so anyways, back to the storyline here. All right, so we've got that one. I think that was Anna Morabito that came up with those. All right, that one's not it. We're on this page. Yes, that was Anna Morabito, commenter on the channel, who found that one. Good find. And she also found this one. Now, we had on before that birds will swim now, like falcons and eagles and stuff can swim, and bats can swim. And we showed images of them swimming. But that's all it was then, that they could swim. But now she found this fishing bats. So the story of these bats is supposedly their hearing is so good that they can hear the fish swimming underwater and coming up to the surface, so that when the fish gets close to the surface, the bat knows. And then it also uses its, there's weird, because the way they said it, it was like they hear it and then they use their echolocation. I'm like, isn't that their hearing? Anyway, so right when the fish gets up to the top, the bat just scoops it up because it knows that it's at the top. And here's a video, a short clip of a bat getting its fish. Now they're saying one bat could catch up to 30 fish per night. I don't even know how one bat can eat 30 fish per night. Here we go. So see, he caught that fish. See, right there. It's in his little clutchy paws. All right, I'm not going to play too much of that because National Geographic will come after me. But anyway, so they now have these fishing bats that live off of fishing. So, we have the fishing wolves that swim out into the ocean and live off of fishing. So I guess everything can fish and swim now. Get the swimming pigs. I don't know. It sounds like I'm making this stuff up, but I'm not. I've covered these before. You guys seen how crazy Alaska looks? Yeah, Alaska's huge now, too. Oh, huge. Okay, let's see if they're going to put Alaska on here. Say map. Let's do a USA-Canada map. Whole thing looks stupid now. See if we can get this map big enough. Ugh, too tiny. Maybe this one. That's not too bad. Okay, so first you got all these weird pointy things. This thing is getting longer and longer. Russia's like right here now. The whole thing is like tipping sideways. This is coming down the Hudson. This is sinking down. The U.S. is tipped now. It used to be straight across. Now it's like that. This is pinched in. Canada is invading. And so now we have Maine sticking out. It looks like somebody's leg sticking out over here now. There's like a drumstick of us. Florida's tiny. California shrunk. Now this one is tricky because, I hate to say the dreaded word map projections, but stick with me here because I'm not debunking this. But I do think that North America has shifted north overall. One reason I think that, and many people have also said this, is the way the sun doesn't rise as high anymore locally. It just never gets up that high in the sky like it used to. It used to be almost up towards it used to be almost above me in the summer, and now it's not. Now summertime looks like winter, and winter is just creepy. I'm starting to get used to it now, but for the first 2 years, I just felt like it was always almost the sun was. It just felt like it never was the middle of the day in the winter, especially in the winter. So I do think that North America is further north. So what happens when North America is further north is that all the northern parts get more affected by that map projection issue that causes stuff way far north to look larger. So I think that's part of why Alaska looks massive, but I don't think that's the whole thing. I think Alaska has gotten bigger, and the map projections thing kind of hides that because they can fall back on that. But Alaska is the biggest state by far in it now, and it was not in my old timeline. Alaska still takes up many, if you moved it down here, it still takes up many states worth of property. Uh, Also, I'm looking at the same map over and over again, and I can still see that Alaska is inflating. So either all of North America is moving up, and that's causing Alaska to inflate because of map projections, or it's just getting bigger. I actually think it's both. I think it's moving further north. I think the Earth is shrinking, and that means that everything up north and everything way south is going to look bigger on the map. But I also do think that Alaska really did get bigger. It's all very tricky. Very, very tricky. All these factors. See if I can get that one to be big. Now for me, that's a crappy map. This area here was kind of closed in. It was like moshed in. This was not, it's like this came down and pinched off all that land. Gee, the eastern seaboard should be like squished in more and more upright. This thing, it's like it's falling apart. It's getting like saggy over here. And Greenland, which looks ridiculously huge now, but Greenland's freaking almost right on top of the North Pole now. I mean, it looks like it's almost touching, where the North Pole used to be. So it has really sailed north. So that's going to make it look a lot bigger because it's really sailed north. I think that the Earth has gotten smaller too. But Greenland is bigger. It's still pretty big. If you look at the how big is, let's see, find that. It did not used to be the size of a couple states. See if I can find one of those comparisons, true size maps. Shut up. All right. True size of, how do I make it work? All right, well, that's really useless because it's not working. Ugh, it's still loading. I'm killing this one. Is Greenland bigger than Africa, Australia? Hopefully there'll be a comparison chart here. Okay, so basically I think they're saying if they move Greenland down, it would be this big. I think this is supposed to be Greenland. But that's still really big. I mean, look at it's like a third of the United States. It's still way too big. And it's like half of Europe. Now, Europe is way smaller in my opinion anyway, but that's still way too big. Greenland was not even that big. It looked even smaller than that when it was here. So for me, Greenland used to be about here, and it's sailed up and around the corner here quite a bit. So yeah, you would expect this region here to be squished in and straight, and then Greenland was sitting over here somewhere. But now it's sailed up here. All these islands, there's like developed a bunch of islands up here, and they're curving around to touch Greenland, and this whole thing is just weird. Makes me crazy looking at it. Look, most of the maps are showing United States really tip like this too. It used to be you'd almost never see a map. I mean, you never did see a map with the United States tipped. So and it seems like it's getting more and more extreme. It's just like flopping over. I don't know. The whole thing. Looking at the map makes me a little crazy sometimes. All right, let's see what we got here. Bats eat bugs. And blood. Now, we did have vampire bats in my old timeline. Those were one of the super weirdy things of my old timeline. Now they're not even that weird because, like, birds and everything and its uncle eats blood now. Dark Halcyon X. I am watching the chat, but I can't guarantee I'll catch every last thing in it. The weird images going through my head, little suckling roaches. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I noticed that. The U.S. keeps getting more tipped. Chanty noticed it. And that Greenland is much bigger. India is a lot smaller. I totally agree with that. Yeah, India was it was really big before. I used to think that India was really gonna vie with the United States for supremacy in the future because their tech was rapidly developing. They have a very big population, and they had a lot of land, but now, yeah, not as much. I saw something on Facebook a while back about how white people lied about the size of the USA compared to Africa in maps. Well, maybe it actually used to be bigger. I don't know. I've seen a whole bunch of this whitewashing excuses lately, and I think that this is my opinion. I think the Mandela effect is using this as another excuse. Like anytime anybody sees anything weird in the sky, they say it's global warming or chemtrails. Anything weird in the animals showing up in new places, oh, that's global warming. Um, then lately, any history weirdness is being blamed on whitewashing. Like suddenly, like just this week, people are saying that the old map that we used to do, the Mercator map, I think it was called, the maps that were always in school, they're saying, oh well, America likes that map because it makes I don't know their countries look bigger. It was some kind of weird excuse like that. Like we picked that map so we could make countries far away from us look like the ones along the equator look smaller. That's their excuse. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But that's the latest thing. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of weird history things, and then they're just saying, oh, well, they all just covered up all the real truth. All the history we ever learned is wrong because the whole history was all covered up this whole time. No, I don't think so. I think it's Mandela. I think it's a Mandela. I think they actually is a different history here, and that is my opinion anyway. I don't buy the whitewashing story. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't lie and stuff, but I just think it's another excuse. It's another cover. It's another cover your butt by the Mandela. Yeah, Mandela will turn white. Just wait, it'll be the latest conspiracy theory that Mandela was always white, but um he was masquerading as black to control the blacks or something. I don't know. There's so many weird things like that now. You can't make it up. Like all the weird politics, I bet whoever the Democrats come up with to go against Trump, there's going to be a whole bunch of weird, creepy stuff. I mean, like this stuff about Biden being really weird. I only first heard of that in 2 years ago. Biden was vice president all those years, and I never heard any of that weird stuff. Now, they did say once in a while he put his foot in his mouth. That was the only thing that they really said about Biden. And now there's all this creepy stuff about him, and that just started 2 years ago. I really should have heard about that when he was vice president, and I'd not hear boo about all that weird stuff back then. I mean, if there was all that weird stuff, that stuff should have come out. I don't think it was in my timeline. But, there's just some kind of rule here that politics have to be as creepy as possible. And that's why I say whoever the Democrat runs, I bet there's just going to be just a whole bunch of weird, creepy stuff. And I think whoever the Republican runs, there's going to be a bunch of creepy stuff for that guy. Because it's like this show where everything has to be creepy and both sides have to have lots of material to point at each other. One side can't be good and the other side bad. That's just not an exciting show. All have to be creepy. Both sides have to be. And maybe eventually people will learn not to trust either side because they're all, in my opinion, wolves in disguise. I don't think any of them are all that great. But they're explaining the way the ME changes. Yeah. I think you're just going to see there's going to be a whole bunch of history changes. I've already been seeing this, and they're blaming it on the whitewashing. Yeah, why did the ME change the inventor of the cotton gin from black to white? That one is unusual because most of the changes you see more black people doing things, more women doing things. There is probably a reason. If we really hunted, we might be able to find it. I found a few reasons for a few of the Mandelas, but if you really knew the whole exact history and studied it, you might be able to figure it out. It might take a lot, and you may not ever. I think the Mandela does have reasons for why it does things. The other thing, though, is I really do see in some of them just how you pick one way and one thing happens, you pick another way and another thing happens. And some of the things that my friends have said that apparently were in their timeline but not mine hinge on some little decision. Like, I know I've mentioned this before, but the way I have like this big cage I put in my car for my dog, because if she sees a squirrel when she's in the car, or if she sees skateboarders, she'll chew up my car seat. So I have her in that cage, and then I can also leave all the windows down and everything if I want to, and she can't jump out. So there was a way I had set the cage in the car that I did that when I first got the cage for her many, many years ago. I set it in the car a certain way, and I had it that way for a few days. And then I thought, well, maybe I should have the door the other way so it's easier for me to get it from the driver's side. And it was kind of a hassle because that cage folded and I'd had to fold down all the front seats and all this. And I almost didn't do it. I was like, oh, it's such a hassle. I'll just leave it. But then at the last minute, I'm like, if I don't change it now, I'll regret it. So I changed it. And so for like 10 years, the cage has been in that direction. I've gotten different cages and everything, but they all face the same way because I'm used to going through that door to get out the dog. So it was about 2-3 months ago, my friend comes over to me and she goes, when did you change the direction the cage faces? In her mind, it was always that other way. But what's weird is the way she remembers is the way I had it at first, like 10 years ago, before I even knew her. So she couldn't have seen it in that direction. And it was only for a few days. But in her mind, it had been that way all this time. But what's weird about it is I remember making that decision. I remember, no, wait, I changed my mind. And I could totally see myself having left it the other way. And so that hinges on just one decision I made a long time ago. I guess in her timeline, I made the other decision and I stayed with it. So I don't know if there's always a reason for something. I really don't. Maybe we shift to the timelines that are right for us, and maybe for whatever reason, that dude being white turned out better for this timeline, or this timeline turned out better. Maybe not even because of that, but it just was the decision that was made in this timeline. It could be that it wouldn't have mattered much either way, but that just happened to be the way it went in this timeline. I don't know. That's a big question. I mean, is there really a reason for every change, or is it all just kind of random decisions, but this timeline turned out better, or maybe it's worse? I don't know. Maybe some excuse can be true, maybe, but not all of it. I don't know. I don't know. Some of the, especially some of the whitewashing stories sound somewhat plausible, but some of them really sound like a reach. I really just don't think that the Mercator map was chosen to make other countries look bad. I just don't think so. I have been having weird glitches in my personal life. Others noticed it too. There's been a lot of changes in the city or my town just this last month. Just a lot of new road twistings, and I'm looking at the map, and this road's like going like that. It used to be straight. There, everybody's complaining about time going too fast. I mean, even a whole bunch of people that aren't in the Mandela community. I mean, I went to do my taxes, and the woman who did my taxes, she's only about 30, and she brought it up. You know, I just said she comes and she just basically says, "Can you believe it's a whole year already?" And she just had this really serious look, like a real frown on her face, like it bugged her. She's like, "I can't believe it's April," and I mean, she just wasn't even joking. I mean, you could see that she really was a little bit concerned. You know, I didn't want to say, "Oh, well, you know, you're in a different timeline," because she'd think I was nuts before she did my taxes. But I've really just noticed that so many people. Now, otters and other animals are killing toxic toads and turning them inside out to eat them, avoiding the toxicity in the skin and head. Yeah, smarter. I didn't know about that one, but that's interesting. It doesn't really shock me. You've got, I think I had on last week, the crows would just eat out their livers to avoid the toxicity, and then they were exploding. Yeah, the animals are a lot smarter here. And the friggin' ants. The ants are like geniuses now. They can form these rafts. If there's a flood, they form these rafts and they can float for like weeks without dying. The rafts are just them all clutching onto each other. It's a big pain in the butt. I think I had on the other day the ants formed this giant tube thing just to get somewhere. And it was all just them grabbing each other. They make ropes. Stephen Hawking, the S is gone. Yeah, it was Hawking's. Definitely, definitely. Yep, yep, it's me. Sia also, her friends are saying the same. This woman was only 30. I was not complaining about time moving quickly when I was 30. There's no way. I wasn't even thinking about that. Oh, Shari D is in. I don't know if you know, but I sent you a private message on Retcon. You might want to check it out. Hawking is your original. That's interesting. Data junkie. Wait, is it Hawking's now or is it Hawking? Never keep up with these things. Okay, looks like it's just no S. So I had an S and now we got no S. So that's a straight ME for me. Yes, S to no S. I bought some plant roots to grow in my garden. I read the labels of them several times. When I went to plant the roots, they were for different plants. Huh, that's interesting. There's been a lot of just weird stuff like that. I think, what was it like? It was really just like 5 years ago. It was, I think that it was still like, it was around the time the Emmy started, but I didn't know about it yet. It was such a weird little thing, but there was like these 2 ribeye steaks left at the store, and I spent a lot of time trying to decide which one, and I picked the best one, and I got in line, and I put all my stuff on the slider at the grocery store, and I'm standing right there, And I remember putting the meat on the slider, and then I get all the way to the front, and she's got all the stuff, and my meat's gone. It was just gone, like it never existed. And I'm pretty sure nobody could have grabbed it. I mean, I was right there. I just can't imagine anybody could have reached over and nabbed it and ran off with it. And it was just gone. It was just like disappeared. It's just such a weird thing. So I actually ran back, and then I almost thought maybe it would still be back there. I don't know why I thought but only that other one that I had declined was still there. So I ended up getting that one. But I don't know. I mean, like, if I didn't bring it up, then why is it gone? And I know I brought it up. I don't know, just stuff. I remember how perplexed I was. It's like it should be there, and it's not there. Oh, Qantas. That's an old one for me. It's Quantas was what it was for me, but now it doesn't have that U, I'm assuming. Qantas. Yeah, now it's like Qantas. It was it was always the rule Q U followed Q. There were no exceptions to the Qantas rule. There was no exceptions to the QU rule. Now, maybe in recent years, company names have gotten weird, and some of the newer companies may have broken the rule. But these old companies, every word was always that had a Q always had a U, and Qantas was no exception. It totally did. It looks like Qantas now. But that is an old ME for me. I think it's at least like 2 years old. I really remember that one a long time ago. I mean, I expect to. Let me just see when it says they were. All right, here, with or without a U. Let me see what the date is on this Steemit one. 2 years ago. Yes, yes. That's an older one for me. This person is sure that Qantas is not what it used to be. Yep. Agreed. Oops, that's something I've been working on. I'm trying to figure out how to analyze photos for alterations. And turns out it's very technical. I did not. I mean, some things you can just look and see they're fishy, but actual proper analysis is not as easy as I'd hoped. They do have nice online. This guy runs the Hacker Factor. He has an online one that's. I'll show it to you really quick, but I'm not sure how much. Dang, I can't remember the name of it. It's this one. It's a beta version, 29a.ch/photoforensics. I'll show you guys really quick, but the problem is he has this wonderful software, but figuring out how to use it is a whole nother story. Okay, so this is obviously a faked photo. So he basically has these different error level methods where you can. All right, so the thing with this is this checks the error level, but the error level for things with sharp edges is going to be the error level potential will be higher around sharp changes and real complicated areas. Anyways, so that's why you can't just look for weird colors, but basically. So this would still be kind of normal because if you go back and look at this photo with the magnifier, it is all purple and sparkly with a lot of weird data in it. So that would explain that sort of. But then if you start to look, let me see if I can catch it. No. But what is weird is that this weird shadow part shows up suddenly. The weird white shadow that shows underneath, it's right in here, but every time I go over there, you get that big square. But so knowing when something is really strange and when something is natural it turns out to be much more complicated than I thought. Some of them are really easy, but if they do a good job, it is not always that easy. All right, so, okay, where am I here? All right, this one was weird. I think this was another Anna Morabito one. On the back page again. Oh, maybe I'm on that page. No, okay, that's not her. No, I think I just... No, wait. This one was from... Oh, yeah, this is from Julie Holcomb. Another commenter on the channel. Good find. Okay, so basically they've discovered that elements can be solid and liquid at the same time. Have you heard before that there's either solid, liquid, or gas? Well, I think a few weeks ago I covered superfluids, which is yet another form of liquid. It's not just liquid, it's superfluids. Okay, so this time now we have both a solid and a fluid. So what they're saying is if they heat stuff up but put it under a lot of pressure, then you can get some of it becomes solid and some becomes liquid. So it's like a wet sponge made out of both the liquid part and the solid part would be made out of the same thing. They're saying potassium does this, and probably a lot of other materials will also do it. Anyway, it just sounds like another weird BS story, but I just thought I'd bring that up. There's so many new states of matter now. All right, now I ran into this one just like an hour ago. New species of ancient human discovered in the Philippines cave. Now, at first I thought this was the hobbits, but it's not. This is another one. And this one's supposed to potentially be even shorter than the hobbits. And they're calling it Homo luzonensis, found in a Luzon island cave dating back 67,000 years, up to 67,000 years. Now, what's weird is also that they only found a few pieces, but they're already saying it's a new species of ancient human thought to have been under 4 foot tall, adapted to climbing trees, has been discovered in the Philippines. The specimen, Homo luzonensis, was excavated from that. Okay, yeah. All right, what was my point? I can't remember now. Let me see. What did they find? It was just a few pieces. It was like a thigh bone, a couple finger digits. Here, 7 teeth, 2 hand bones, 3 foot bones, 1 thigh bone were found. Thought to belong to 2 adults and 1 child. So I can't find any record of any other pieces found of this species. Yet they've already got a whole name and accepted it, which I think is kind of weird because when they were doing the hobbits, they wanted like a lot of skeletons of a lot of different individuals before they accepted that as a legit species. So now they've got just a thigh bone, foot bones, teeth, and hand bones, and they're already saying it's a new species. They've got a name for it and everything. They know the height and everything. It's just, I don't know. So the ones that were the hobbits were Homo florensis. That's interesting because I thought it was Florensis, but I really thought it was Homo florensis. But now they're saying it's Florensis. I think that there's a good chance that's changed. The hobbits, I'm pretty sure, were Florensis. I mean, let me just check that and make sure that everybody agrees. Hobbits, Homo, Flor. Yeah, it's Florensis, according to everybody. I swear it was Florensis. All right, anyway, so now we've got a whole nother tiny species. Now this is Florensis, and this is us. So they were small, but anyway, it's a whole new species. Boom, just that easy. All right. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, somebody mentioned that Rat Kings. Wait. Where'd it go? I almost did Rat Kings last week because the story has really grown, but I have covered Rat Kings in the past. Dirty Little Secret of Science. Not all of the constants are really constant. Not anymore. They were constant. The speed of light was constant. Now there's a new article every 5 minutes that they're not really, but they were in my old timeline. The last 5 years they're not anymore though. I also found that my children don't barely have any memories from before they were 8 or 9. Huh, that's interesting. How old are they now though? I mean, was that just like around 2012? I have to tell you, it's a lot harder for me to remember my childhood now. And they say when you get old or dementia, it's your childhood you remember. But no, I really remember, it's like it's gotten fuzzy, but I do remember stuff since then pretty well. Mishka the cat, I've been listening in silently, but that solid liquid superposition still gets me. There's no rules that aren't going to get broken, I don't think, at this rate. My kids, my relative, myself all know the roots were blueberry roots, but when we went to plant them, they were all different, but no one cared. I think it's just too scary to admit something like that could happen is probably why. It's just way easier for them to think that you goofed up. Yeah, everybody remembers Qantas. Qantas stands for Queensland and Northern Territory. You know, it had a U because Q was followed by U. I mean, it's not like they need a special reason to spell something in the normal fashion. Queensland has a U, so probably stood for something else back then. They probably tweaked it a tiny bit, and in the old timeline, it stood for something else. We've seen all the time, like Grand Central Station is now, what was it they changed it to? Grand Central something else. I mean, what things stand for changes all the time across the timeline, so. I think in some other timeline they decided to keep the Q from Queensland. In this timeline they didn't. Many Q words exist now without the Q. Yep. One day the quantum effect will become the quantum. Yeah, really. Who knows? I've seen some pretty weird spellings popping up lately. Now, I swear somebody said Rat Kings in here. Now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Even now, beside Rat Kings, I saw an article about Squirrel Kings. What would squirrels get their tails caught up? Rat, but squirrels. I don't get how rats could get their. The thing about Rat Kings, all right, let's just go into this again. All right, let me look up Squirrel Kings and see where we're at with this. What a name, anyway. Kings. 6 squirrels gets tails stuck together. So, baby squirrels with tails hopefully tangled. We just didn't have this thing in my old timeline. Why would they get tangled? You got a bunch of cats. Their tails go like that. They don't get stuck. I mean, if you ever seen a squirrel tail like up close, it's not that different from a cat tail. I don't see how this happens. And then if it does, how do they all live? I mean, for instance, if a rabbit gets its foot in a trap, it'll chew off its foot to escape. Why don't these things do that? I don't know. I mean, that's gross, but Squirrel King. So this is supposed to be from a year ago, huh? 5 creatures tied together by their own tails discovered in Wisconsin. Hapless squirrel siblings caught in quite the bind, leaving them tied together and matted with. I just don't get it. All right. It just looks stupid. The whole thing is just stupid. So one of the things I was reading about the rat kings is that there's been rat kings where like 100 squirrels had their rats had their tails tied. I mean, how do you end up with that many tied? And this is supposed to be a natural occurrence. See, there's a lot more of them than the last time I looked. How would they get all tied and then as adults, now if you're in the nest and they got tied and then how would you develop into an adult? You wouldn't. Now I could see maybe in the nest, maybe they got tied and then they all would die because they can't, you can't survive like that. So how do these adults get all tied? I don't know. Actually, rat kings really bugs me. So basically what they're saying is these kings are when these animals get their tails somehow all knotted up. And they're not saying that humans did it. They're saying that this is like a natural occurrence. I mean, if you have a whole bunch of these tails, they should just slither apart. I just don't get it. It just sounds like so much baloney. And there's more and more of it now. I covered rat kings a while back, but yeah, as somebody here has noticed that squirrels have them now. Gosi333 has noticed the squirrels. There's probably going to be, if squirrels and rats can do it, I think we're going to see more of it. Ugh, it's gross. All right, so let me go back now that I found rat kings. The constant for light is variable. It didn't used to be variable. In my timeline, they just recently announced that it was variable. They just found out. Yeah, how do cats and mice escape traps, but they can't figure out how to not get their tails stuck together? And when they first said it, they were saying it was in the nest. But now there's adults with it and hundreds of them. Like supposedly a rat king with 100 rats was discovered. So I don't even see how that's even possible. It just sounds ridiculous. Like loose cords in the junk drawer or necklaces and jewelry box, but way more gross. Except for tails don't bend like that. I mean, they don't bend like, and they're not this thin. If you have like a giant, a thick rope that's only that long, I don't see how that, and it's a lot. You don't get your finger stuck with your other finger. I'm sorry. I see that that's the analogy, but I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And how would they then get 100 of them like that and then still, survive long enough to even have 100 of them? And if you were a rat and you saw a giant pile of tangled up rats, I mean, how do you keep adding them until there's 100? I mean, I could maybe see like a nest of them getting tangled or a couple babies or a couple of them, but how do you get 100? Yeah, I can't see a pile of rats just happen to tie tails together. Maybe a couple, but an entire, yeah, I just don't get it. So there's a pile of rats, and then more rats go over there, and then they get their tails stuck, and then more rats go over there, and they get their tails stuck. I mean, how? What do you get if somebody puts super glue on the tails? Are they dead? Well, supposedly, they were live at first, and then they died. So they found batches of them all tied together that were still alive. If your tail's getting frostbitten, you make the hard choice. Yeah, see, that's the other thing. Why do they not attack each other or just bite off their tails? Rats aren't stupid either. These aren't mice. Mice can be really dumb, but rats are pretty smart. They're saying it's natural, not a prank. Well, it only makes sense if they use their tail to help the others and then got caught up. Rats don't try to fix things with their tail. They're not prehensile. They don't use their tail like a hand or anything. So, yeah, stupid like ghost apples. Yep. Anyways, okay, so that wasn't originally on the docket, but Squirrel Kings. Yeah, I'm gonna put that down so I don't forget to write it later. Ugh, come on, pen. Got another pen, please. Something is simple. You can't even write something down. All right. Oh, nothing wants to write on there. There we go. Squirrel Kings. I try to keep a note of everything I've covered, not for whatever reason. All right. Should we throw it out? Where are we? Are we still on the first page? All right. I'm not sure how old this is, but I think it's fishy. I don't remember hearing this. Supposedly it's from 2012. I don't know if I missed the memo or it wasn't in my timeline, but it is fishy. Pope Benedict says the entire Christian calendar is based on a 6th century monk's mistake. So they're saying that when Jesus was born is actually wrong in that he was born at a different time. The calculation of the beginning of our calendar based on the birth of Jesus was made by Dionysius Exiguus, who made a mistake in his calculations by several years, the Pope writes. The entire Christian calendar is based on a miscalculation, according to Pope Benedict, who claims in a book published Wednesday that Jesus was born several years earlier. The assertion is not new. Many historians believe that Christ was born sometime between 7 BC and 2 BC. But the fact that doubts over one of keystones of Christian tradition have been raised by the leader of the world's 1 billion Roman Catholics is striking. Anyway, I've never heard of this. Apparently, this happened in 2012. I've never heard of it being brought up by any other historians. So I don't know what to say, but that's just weird. Oh yeah, Mayan calendar edits post 2012. Yeah, everything is like everything in history is being questioned and changed, even the time of the birth of Jesus. Do you remember wasps flying backwards to get home? I sure don't. It seems I mean, you're flying back the way they came or backwards? I haven't heard of... What? No way. Go see 333 gets the heads up for Weird Emmy of the day. All right, I gotta write that one down. Oh, God. So they get home. Oh, my God. Wasps fly backwards to ensure they could get home. When sand wasps leave home in the morning, they capture snapshots of the land. Oh, okay. So they're not saying they actually fly with their butt facing forward. Sure, they can find their way back later. They look back at the nest from the viewpoint. Oh, really? Are they really doing that? They look back at the nest from the viewpoint of their future return. So they're really saying they fly backwards? Come on. Okay, so they say they fly out backwards. Like they leave backwards. No. It was so weird. I just like, no. But yeah, no, okay. So they fly backwards with their butt first. Backwards away from the nest in very systematic zigzag pattern of arcs around the nest. The wasp produces systematic sequence of views of the nest and its landscape, which they use when deciding what direction to fly on their return. All right, so I didn't even know they could fly backwards. I guess yeah, they're pretty good at hovering, but okay, that's the weird ME for today. Wasps fly backwards so they can find their way home. Looks like a fair lot of these too. Doesn't look like it's just one. Huh. That one's interesting. That's just ridiculous. You could just look back, but no, you're going to have to fly backwards. How do you keep from slamming into stuff? Okay. Yeah, how do they know where they're going? And they fly right into a frog's mouth. Yum. Yeah, you guys are going to start saving the weird ones for me. I mean, this is what I do at home, except for I'm less loud about it. New history: Hitler didn't want to begin the war. Hitler's getting to be a nicer guy in this timeline. He got married, he did art. Let's see what we got here. Netanyahu. Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews. Hitler only wanted to expel the Jews, but Jerusalem's Grand Mufti convinced him to exterminate them, a claim that was rejected by most accepted Holocaust scholars. All right, this is something that Netanyahu was saying. Huh. Okay, I don't know what the Mufti of Jerusalem is. Haj Amin al-Husseini was the one who planted the idea. Okay, I don't know. There's not real evidence for it then, from what I can see. Who knows? Maybe later it'll show up as evidence. Maybe this is the first salvo. Hitler does seem to be nicifying. He got blue eyes, so he's less of a hypocrite. He was big on the art now. Wasn't a big thing in my timeline at all. He got married. He didn't get married in my timeline. All right. Well, I don't really see a ton of evidence for that yet. It's just a claim by um, certain Jewish people, apparently now. Who knows, though? It's worth keeping an eye on. I haven't seen a bunch of change. I haven't seen many changes in fingers lately. I'll have to look at the bone structure. My hands have not been hurting either, so maybe it's settled down for now. Did anyone witness the thinker statue flip flop? Well, if he still got his hand in his mouth, then there was no flip flop for me. It was forehead. People told me it was this, but by the like fist under chin. I did not see that because it was sort of right before I learned of the Mandela. For a while, it was this. I did see that, and then it moved to this. But it has just been a steady progression of changes. None of them have reeled back to the old way. Okay, where are we here? Got that one. This one, it's probably not really a Mandela, but it's weird. See if I can find it online here. Oops. This was weird. Okay, so this was, I don't know, was it a few weeks ago? They were saying the Israeli moonlander took a selfie. I just want to show you what's weird about this is a number of the images when you blow them up, and this one is really obvious, has this weird light line in here. The whole photo looks weirdly fake. I mean, they say that light is different in space, and who the heck knows? Then it's all dark right here. What is this line? And it goes down this way too. And that was actually one of the things that sparked me to try to figure out how to look at this forensically. But I'm now realize it's so complicated that I will probably need to ask some specialists before I'll learn enough to figure this mess out myself. But what's up with this? This is like the crappiest photo in the universe, basically. I couldn't find anyone that looks better than it has all this. I think that's from being saved from a JPEG or something, but this rainbowing, it just looks terrible. It's the crappiest picture. This all in here just looks really fake. I don't know. This part at least looks real, but this looks fake. This looks fake. What's up with this lines? There's a whole bunch of weird lines in here. There's two more lines that come down through there. One that comes down there. I don't know what to say. Am I going to say that their camera sucks that bad? Seems unlikely. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that one. Oh, I just heard about this one about a month ago. So apparently now you could really die from a broken heart. They have broken heart syndrome, a heart condition brought on by stressful situations such as the death of a loved one. And basically it mimics a heart attack. And It sounds like you actually can die from it, but usually it'll go away when your stress goes down. So this was on a show recently. I think it was one of those TV shows about weird medical conditions, and so this woman presents that her heart is aching and all this, and they don't really listen to her. It turns out that her heart is actually beating in the wrong way, and that she could be dead basically. And then they thought she had a heart attack, but then it was broken heart syndrome. Never heard of that. Um, may also be called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, apical ballooning syndrome, or stress cardiomyopathy. We've all seen a lot of, well, I don't know if we all have, but I've seen a lot of changes in the heart. So I suspect this is just a new thing. I don't think we had broken heart syndrome before. Hitler wasn't being original. So many religions used the swastika. Not in my timeline. In fact, I even watched the development of the swastika because maybe 6 years ago, there was a show on TV where they said, actually, this one little known, tiny little Buddhist tribe also used the swastika. And no, it was just like this really, really isolated, tiny tribe, a Buddhist tribe. They were the only ones that also used the swastika at that time. And that was back when, before the swastika changed. So it was going the other way. The Nazi swastika was going the other way than it is now. But since that show, over the years now, all these other groups, even the Native Americans, use the swastika. Nope, nope, not in my timeline. It was, and I watched it evolve, so that's why I know it was an ME. And also, I've watched that Nazi symbol itself flip-flop, because here's what happened. I used to watch Mandela Effects all the time, and in one timeline I was in, he did a video on the Nazi swastika, and his video said something that it does not say anymore. But what he said, according to his research, is that that first what happened was the Nazi, what do you call it? The new Nazis, the neo-Nazis, had flipped it. And because they didn't want to disrespect the original Nazis or something. So the old Nazi symbol that was actually in World War II was still the same as my original timeline, but the neo-Nazis had flipped it. And so you got used to seeing the neo-Nazis flip version. Well, now in this timeline, there's no opposites between the neo-Nazis and the original Nazis, and they're all flipped. So that's something that's really changed. So there's a whole bunch of Mandelas of that swastika. And for me, I mean, it may be that in your timeline, those were always the case. But think back, when did you first hear that Native Americans and Buddhists and all those people had swastikas also? How long ago was that? Was that 20 years ago? Was it like 3 or 4 years ago? Just think about it. Now there's a first pick of Galaxy made in 1889. Sorry, D's got all the interesting ones. First pick of Galaxy. When were the first pictures of the Milky Way? What did Hubble discover in the 1920s? We did not have a Hubble in the 1920s. Oh, okay, it's the actual dude, not the spacecraft. Edward Hubble observed stars that vary in brightness in a patch of light known as the time as Andromeda Nebula. Okay, the spacecraft wasn't there though. All right, I'm thinking that 1889, that was pretty close to the invention of video. I'm thinking basically that that's a photo taken from Earth. No? Photograph from Yerkes Observatory around 1900. Really? Okay, it's a photo of Andromeda. Oh, but you can see Andromeda in the sky now, even. I mean, it's small, but you could see it. My old timeline, you could not see a galaxy. So basically, you would just need to have like a pretty good telescope and you could get it big like that. That was 1900. It was described as a mass of glowing gas. All right, yeah, you can see Andromeda in the sky now. So that's not that weird. It would be just like a kind of a extra good photo of the moon would be like how the Andromeda, getting a good picture of Andromeda. The Israel flag has changed. I'm not sure I knew what it was before. See, there it is. There's Andromeda. You can see it with the naked eye now. Just right there. There it is. That's Andromeda. You could not see any galaxies in my old timeline. I would not be surprised if this gets bigger. We'll start to see it more and more. Ooh, oh, dang, I'm just not sure. It looks a little weird. Kind of just remember more stuff at the top, not balanced like that. Let's see what other. Has this been covered before? Twin Towers. Okay. Page 5. There's no cache version, or there is a cache version. Cached. Oh, nothing. Hopefully my computer's still working. Let's just go to Reddit. Okay, yeah, so computer's still working. Just not that page. And not the cache version. Anyways, yeah, I don't think I really knew the Israeli flag, so I can't help you on that one. 364 days in a year. Yeah, that does sound familiar to me, actually, 364. But it's been 365 for a while, so it's kind of like a dual memory thing. All right, where are we? Got you. All right, I'm going to cover what's on the front page. Just saw this one. I'll just cover that. So what's that thing in the front? It's snottite, also known as snotticles or snottite curtains. So basically they're saying that if you go into caves, if they're kind of moist, then bacteria form bacterial mats, and they make these strings. If it's like this, like a curtain, they call it curtains. Otherwise, it's more like strings, and they're made of bacterial mats. And then they're saying they're like all jiggly, and if there's any wind, they're like tentacles. So a lot of them are like this. So there's like more and more of them. And then we've got the glowworms. This is actually glowworms, but here, snottites. I think we're going to see more and more of these disgusting things. So they're saying that if there's any disruption in the air, they wiggle like disgusting tentacles too. Snottites or snotticles. I think that's the original image there. So these are just like snot curtains, basically. Those are dead snot curtains because they closed off the cave water. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I ran into those earlier today. Totally gross. There's not a lot of images of them yet. I think that we will see more, though. These snottites are known for dripping sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid has very low pH. Those are kind of a different look. Anyways, I think you will see a lot of those. Ugh, gross. Andy Chuang is in. Welcome. Okay, this one I just suddenly... It seems like every 5 minutes there's some new astronomical event coming up. So, I've never heard of this, but you read these things and it's like they've been looking forward to this for 10 years or something. The Great Transformation of 2020. Looks like it's mostly going to be around 2020 to 2021, like the end of 2019, basically, December. And like these, what was the word they used? These synods, or, you know, every time I hear that word synod, I swear I've never heard of it except for sci-fi, but the 2020 Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto synods are converging together and will affect a great societal reset along with accelerated introduction of blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so more weird, creepy change things are supposed to happen during this period. And it's like the end of 2019 to around like the next year. Saturn-Pluto synod occurs in January 2020. The Jupiter-Pluto synod occurs in July 31, 2020. Jupiter-Saturn synod occurs on November 2, 2020. The Saturn-Pluto-Jupiter synod occurs in late sidereal Sagittarius. That's our hometown. Apparently there's one at like the end of 2019 also. So the weird thing is that like they're like, oh, this has been waited for all this time. I've only just heard of it in the last week. It's a coming period of upheaval, the Great Transformation. Anyways, this has just been taking over lately. I think you're going to hear more about it. Snow Thunder, I think it is called. Thunder during snowstorms. Yeah, never heard of it. That one came out about three years ago. Two years ago, I would say. Thunder snow is what they call it. There was this weird video of this newscaster all flipping out because he got to hear the thunder snow. Paris syndrome and Jerusalem syndrome. I don't know what those are. Paris syndrome is a condition exhibited by some individual when visiting, going to vacation. As a result of, oh, yes, okay. And then they go into shock because Paris is different than Yeah, I heard about this. Like, was it last year? So they go to Paris and it's so different than they thought, that they have psychiatric symptoms such as delusional states, hallucinations, feelings of persecution, derealization. I've never heard, that just sounds ridiculous. So they totally go crazy because Paris is not what they thought. I don't know. It just seems even more unlikely because of the age of the internet. You pretty much can see everything before you get there. Yeah, this is just weird. And maybe it's kind of good, though, if they're making a thing where you could be kind of half nuts and then actually be fine again later. Crazy Horse statue is disappearing. Darn. Where was that at? Dang, I don't think... I thought there was a little more than just the face done. I thought there was at least some kind of a hand done or something. You know, I'm really suspicious about Crazy Horse statue. It sort of popped up about 4 years ago. I thought there was more done than just the head, though. I don't remember the horse being done, but I thought there was more done than that. I thought we'd gotten some hair at least and stuff. Yeah, see, I think I remember hair and some arm. They only got face done. Well, keep an eye on. That might be a good one to really keep an eye on for an indicator. I noticed a lot of my old indicator photos aren't changing much anymore, but other things are still changing. Maybe those photos of those things have kind of developed as much as they are going to for now. So it may be that I need to look at pick out some new photos for this stuff. All right, here we go. All right, this is kind of a weird one for the USA people who do quarterly taxes. Do you remember what the deadline for your quarterly fourth quarter taxes was? This is a trip for me. For a long time, I did quarterly taxes. The fourth quarter taxes for me was due on the same time as the annual tax, like the whole thing. So like it would be April 15th. That was always when the fourth quarter taxes were due. So just recently, like a couple days ago, a friend of mine's like, "Oh crap, I missed my fourth quarter tax." So I'm like, "No, you didn't. It's April 15th." Well, it's January 15th now. It was always April 15th for me, always. I'm flipping out. I've never heard of January 15th being the cutoff for anything. But that's the cutoff for fourth quarter taxes now. So I'm kind of flipping out about that. And then the next day I get a call from California State Franchise Task Board wanting their sales tax money. And I'm like, what? Because I pay sales tax, the whole pile of sales tax that I owe for my business once a year. And now they're saying that I owe it quarterly, and I'm late for 2 quarters already. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've always paid it annually. Like, no, you're supposed to pay it quarterly. I'm like, I didn't get the memo. See, the weird thing is, I'm like, no, I paid it annually all these years, and he didn't seem to have a record of me paying. I mean, he couldn't say, oh, we switched it. He just, well, you got to pay it. I'm like, okay, I'll pay it, but I don't know. I always paid my fourth quarters. It was always April 15. And then in recent years, I I just pay it all at once at the end, and I just pay that little fee for being late. But apparently, the deadline is January 15 now, and it's the same deadline for the quarterly sales tax ones too. That's one of the deadlines, and I've just never even heard of that date as a deadline. So I'm kind of tripping out. Oh, I don't know if in another timeline I was paying quarterlies, but if I knew about that in another timeline, then I should have been paying them. So anyway, I didn't pay my quarterlies that I didn't know about. I don't know. It kind of flips me out when stuff like that happens. But I mean, they're only going to charge me $100 fee for being late, so it's not that big a deal. But jeez, it's just kind of disturbing. That's all I have to say. Is the statue of Crazy Horse famous? Because I've never heard of it. Yeah, that thing just showed up in my timeline a few years ago. I should have pressed for more info. Yeah, well, I couldn't get a straight answer out of him because I'm like, first he's like, you didn't pay it. And I'm like, yeah, I paid it. And they're like, no, you didn't. I go, no, I paid it in July. I think it's July, like I always do. And I know I paid it because then I saw that chunk of money move out of my account. And so I knew that they took it. And I was like, I was just thinking, oh, I'm just going to go back to my account and I'll just send them a thing proving that I paid them. And I don't know, it was just weird. I mean, you don't want to argue with the California State Franchise Tax Board. Those guys are really, they're just not someone you want to mess with, let's just say. So I don't want to stir up any crap. But he seemed to have no understanding of why I was speaking as I was. So he just said, you earn enough that you need to pay quarterlies. But, I mean, if it just changed, then he should know. Yeah, taxes stress me out. I know. The thing is, I just went to my appointment on Monday because I had the flu. I was really late, and on Monday I had my appointment, and I got all my federals done. And I'm like, Tuesday morning, I'm like crowing to my friends, "Oh, my taxes are all done, and I didn't owe too much." And yeah. And like 2 hours later, I get a call from the tax board. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I need to get off my butt and figure out all my quarterlies now since I'm already late. Crazy Horse statue was famous before you used to see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse too. Yeah, nope, not for me. I don't think, I'm really suspicious about Crazy Horse having been in my timeline originally. All right, so anyway, that's weird. Two weirds. Yeah, it's weird because also my friend missed her deadline. She's all flipping out. I'm like, they only charge like $100 fee anyways. The thing with me is I take all that money that I owe them, and if I paid it all year, then they would sit on it. But if I keep it myself, I reinvest it in my business, and then I make a profit off of it. And so I make more than $100 of profit off of it during that year. So for me, it's worth it to just pay the little fee and use that money all year and make profit off of it. Plus, I mean, then who wants to like just deal with 3 more payments? It's just a hassle. So it's just easier for me to do it that way. Okay, got all that. Transformation. All right, I got like 1 page done. All right, this one, Anna Morbido mentioned this one, but I had already just seen it. I thought I had it saved on here, actually. Well, it looks like I didn't. Huh. Boinks. All right, let me find it again. I think it's in the front page of Yahoo. I'm just going to run over there really quick and see if it's still there. Yeah, it's still here. Bees. I saw this one last week, but now it's gotten really viral. Bees discovered living in a woman's eye. I had this already loaded so we didn't have to spend an hour. So apparently these sweet bees took up residence in this woman's eye. They were feeding off of her tears. Now, I was pretty skeptical about that, but you can see the eye
Doctors treating
here
a
in the
Taiwanese
beginning.
woman for a
Go
swollen
back.
eye were shocked to find 4 times.
I'm going to turn off the sound, too. All right, so I think it's right in there. See if I can get a good vision of it. You can just see it. It's just in there. So it was living up under the lid. There were 4 of them. So I was looking into this before on another article, and they said sweet bees like to live around graves, Graves. So it's already creepy. She thought she had dirt blown into her eye while she was pulling weeds around the graves of her relatives. And they're saying that these sweet bees like to live around graves. I don't really get what would be so great about graves that bees would want to live on the surface. I mean, the graves, the people are buried underneath. So the whole thing is just sort of weird. So 4 of these suckers were in her eye, and her eye was really hurting. So she went to the hospital, and the doctor looked in there and found these freaking bees in there. And they pulled them out, and there's 4 of them. So they're saying they feed on her tears. I think I'd seen these before where they were saying sometimes they get onto animals. But so this is just creepy, though. I don't know. So this is a statement here that I had not read last week, too. She was wearing contact lenses, so she didn't dare to rub her eyes in case she broke the lens. He explained. If she did, she could have induced the bees to produce venom. She could have gone blind. But yet they were able to pull these suckers out without them. They grabbed a leg and yanked them out, so they didn't sting her when they were pulling them out. The bees are still alive and have been sent to another organization so they can be studied. So I was trying to look this up about sweet bees and what kind they were and stuff, and it was kind of hard to find much information. But so now they're saying they could have produced venom and blinded her. So there's another creepy thing for this timeline. That's all I have to say about that. All right. I almost made this one the thumbnail. Man with half a head. So this is a real guy. In my old timeline, you just would be dead. But basically, he smoked some marijuana and got in a big car accident. And they had to remove a giant chunk of his head. And so he's not the smartest knife in the sharpest knife in the drawer right now, but he's somewhat disabled, but he's actually surprisingly coherent after all this. I think you would just be a vegetable in my old timeline if you lost that much head. There's some weird ones out there now. I hadn't even really looked at this one. Look at what you can lose and still function now. Half head man. I hadn't seen this one. There's ones worse than that. There was just nobody missing that much head in my old timeline. It just was not possible to be missing that much head. You would just not function. All right, here's another one. This is another one I was going to bring up. So this guy, you can look all the way into his head. There's actually video of that one. Let me see if I can find that video. I was trying to bring this up earlier, but Reddit was down for a while, so I couldn't. Pretty sure this is it. All right, so there he is. He's going to turn his head, and you can look right in there. So, I'm sorry, but you just could not be missing that much head in my old timeline. You just couldn't. So, I guess we're a lot harder in this timeline. That's all I have to say. This one's a little bit less strange, but birds were not this smooth in my old timeline either. Well, you know, we had chickens. None of them did this. I don't know if this is a special chicken function, but oh, basically he can keep his head totally still even though you move the body. Now, we've had many a chicken. I've never seen anything like this before. It's really weird. Really weird. All right. All right, here's another weird one. Actually, let me try it this way. Here it is. I think we want this one. I've seen like 3 images just in the last week of people that only have 4 fingers total. Well, 3 fingers and a thumb. All right. This one, though, has this weird deformity here. Now, there's something extra weird about this. They're saying deformity due to X-ray burns. So is the deformity just this puffy part or the 3 fingers? Now, a lot of people are arguing that she had the 3 fingers already and then she went to get an X-ray because of the 3 fingers and she got this. But see, now they call this a burn, but you can see that the skin is healthy now. So it must be something that was left behind from the X-ray. The whole thing is kind of vague and weird. But basically, there's been a whole bunch of images popping up of people, and they're saying that they're born with it. This one looks like she's born with it. She's not. She doesn't have a big meaty hand and then a stump or anything. So there's something about now I've seen a ton of images of the 5 fingers and a thumb, so 6 digits. But now I'm seeing a ton of images of just the 4 digits. They're making a joke like you look like a cartoon because a lot of times the cartoons only put 4 digits. Showing deformity due to X-ray burns, the inflammation of the fingers are due to excessive radiation, which occurs when X-ray machines are unshielded. So it makes it sound like it's probably just this puffiness, but a bunch of people asking. There's some confusion in here. Let's see, what was it that they were saying? Someone is saying that it's due to the beginning times when X-rays were first invented, they weren't shielded properly. But then someone's like, but this is a color photograph. These burns happened in the 1800s. So they're confused because this person here, Endolith, I think remembers photography coming much later than the time of these radiation burns. So I just thought that little divot there was interesting because there's confusion. People are confused about when things were invented. This person remembers our old memory of photography not being available back then, especially not color photography. So interesting. All right, I think I got them all now. That might be it. I feel like I'm forgetting something though. No, maybe not. Nope, I think I got everything. See what you guys are up to. Looks like this thing has not updated. Either you guys have stopped talking or there's been a lack of updates. I'm going to jump over to this one. Nope, looks like you guys weren't talking. You're talking about losing the taste for meat. Yeah. You know, the last time I got sick, I've lost my taste for cooked meat a lot. I still like salmon sashimi. That I still like. It's uncooked, which is kind of weird, but fresh salmon doesn't taste very fishy either. Then I put this soy sauce mix on it. It's not that good without the soy sauce mix, but I've been really craving that salmon sashimi and sushi. It's one of the few meats I still kind of like. I'll still eat some meat, but it's just not the same. Look at the rainbow squirrel. Yeah, that one was on last week, the rainbow squirrel. The heart has its own mind and memories as well. Yeah, that first they came out that there's neurons in the stomach, and now they're like there's neurons in the heart. Wonder where else there's neurons. I find it hard to believe they didn't notice that there was neurons there. Brain cells in the heart. 2013. There's no way they had brain cells in the heart in 2013. All right, we're still just in brains and heart and stomach, I guess. But when they came out that there was brain cells in the stomach, I'm like, how did people not notice that? And somehow this heart thing has slipped in there. Ooh, this one's an irritating one. Let's go back. There's a certain flavor of misconception that occurs when a culture or belief intersects a scientific factoid that superficially seems to support the belief. The primary misconception here is to confuse neuron with brain cells, followed by equating brain cells with mind. Not all neurons are brain cells, and not all brain cells are neurons. There's also glia. Well, it used to be that neurons were brain cells because they were all in the brain. But now they're arguing differently. But anyways, the main point here is that there's neurons in your stomach and there's neurons in your heart in this timeline. You know what? I'm just going to use this one. It's faster. I thought only grays have 4 fingers. Yeah, I've never seen anybody with 4 fingers ever until this week, and I saw 3 images of it. So this timeline really likes that. It's really pushing it. There are chickens with dinosaur feet. I covered that one a while ago. They have these super fat feet. It's actually the thumbnail of one of my videos, assuming we're talking about the same beast. Let's see, chickens with dinosaur feet. Can't be too sure there's not extra MEs that are similar but different. Scientists have grown dinosaur legs on chickens. I'm not seeing a chicken with dinosaur legs in this image, though. Let me see. Chicken with fat legs. Let's do that instead. Yep. Okay, this is the ones I had on. Although I swear I don't think we had one quite this big when I was looking last time. Oh, interesting. See, when I looked last time, oh, that's interesting. When I looked last time, they just look way more bumpy. They look like weird, bumpy, gross. But in this image, they look more like just big. They've changed. Look at that. They've changed. This is more like what I was seeing, more like this. But wow. Okay, here. This is the one I saw. Huh. Anyways, there's a lot more of these on now than they were. The heck is this? You can't go from that to that. Anyway, I don't know. Could be Photoshop. Fat leg chicken. Huh, interesting. These are all different images except for that one. So yeah, supposedly it's some kind of weird breed of chicken that the Vietnamese are prized. There's a lot of weird breeds, regional breeds of weird mutant animals in this timeline. We saw that with those weird goats too, with the mashed in faces. And those have started to go really viral too. I saw those chickens a few weeks ago, but their feet weren't that big. Yeah, that's my feeling. It just I don't remember my image on my blog having quite that big a feed actually. I mean the image on my thumbnail. Where's that one for my thumbnail? And I don't remember them being well, maybe they've altered the brightness on this photo because look at how bright the head is, but I don't remember them being quite that bright either. Wait, there it is. Where did my thumbnail? This one. I don't think it was quite that fat. You're right. I don't think it was quite that fat when I first posted. I mean, they were. And this, what's this? This wasn't on there. The raw chest. I don't remember that being on there. Ooh, that's a new thing. That look, this one has it too. And this one. Oh, these things are rapidly changing. What is that thing? So they're getting these like little bare spots. Look, he's grabbing it there. Extremely rare. Look at this one. Look at it has a big poofy. Ah, that's different. They did not have that. Weird. Look at there's another one. Oh, that's the same one. This one has one right there above the head of that one. Yep. See there. All right, so these things are like they weren't weird enough already. Look at right there. Look at that one. Look at that weird long thing. Yeah, no, they didn't have that. Dong Tao chicken, that was the name of them. Look at that. All right, anyways, yeah, that's new. They didn't have those chesticle parts. Look at there. All right, well, okay, that's weird. There's always something. The hand could fit on the total recall hand key thing. 5-foot chicken. Giant Brahma. Play a little piece of it here. So this one came out about 2 years ago, maybe. Right here. So it's just like a really big chicken. I wasn't really sure on this one when it first came out, if I would have heard of it. Let's see if that's going to play at all. Anyway, it's just like a really big chicken. There we go, finally. This is a... But I don't think it's like 5 foot, but it is a really big chicken. Maybe give it a little more of a timeline and we'll get a 5-foot chicken. How big is the giant Brahma chicken? Uh, 2.5 feet tall. That's for a rooster. Roosters are going to be bigger. So it's still a pretty big chicken, but the trouble with that video is you can't really tell how tall those steps are and stuff. In my timeline, missing one of the hemispheres was survivable because the surviving could take on the other systems, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, the whole frontal cortex is gone. I just don't see how you would have any consciousness left in my old timeline. You never saw injuries that severe. That was just death. Just the trauma to the brain would have killed the whole brain. It's funny, they call him half head, but that one guy, he's got less than half a head. I mean, it's gone and then it's caved out. I've never seen it just caved out like that. Like there's a whole cave in there. Somebody made this joke you could hide a bunch of food in there and then wear a wig and you could get into the movie theater. I'm like, who thinks of these things? There are no laws in science now, so anything can happen. Yeah, I've noticed that they're making all these like human other creature hybrids, and they're like, oh, well, we only grew a few cells, and we only grew it to 20,000 cells, and we only did that. I don't know. It just seems like they're just pushing the bar. I'm like, is there really no law against that? Making these hybrids. It doesn't seem like there's really a law against it. They're just voluntarily stopping it. Before they progress into full fetuses, but it's just voluntary, it seems like. Oh, there's a cat face spider now. Let's see. Cat face spider. You know, you have to have a spider on every day. Every week we have to have a spider on. It's a law. All right, so we have cat face spider. Okay, it's not that cat faced. Give it some time though. We might get more cattiness out of it. Cat face spider. Not yet super catty. Interesting though. That one's more. That one has more ears and stuff than those other ones. What is that? Is this a male cat face spider? Well, that looks very catty right there. I wonder if there's any image manipulation done on that one. All right. Well, that's interesting. Some of these have more ears on them than some of the others. that would probably be something that will develop a bit more, I bet. Huh. All right, cat face spider. What next? The flamingos fly now. I wonder how they keep them in the zoos. I'm betting they'll cut the flight feathers. That's how they control other birds. I mean, they didn't used to have to, but now they could cut the flight feathers to keep them from flying out. I was raised on free-range game chicken. The flesh of today's chicken is different, blubbery. I don't know. The thing is, it just seems like it's different than like last year. I don't think they've had any huge changes in chickens since last year. Don't remember chicken flying either, but do I? Chickens flew a little bit for me. They could flap up into, like they could flap up onto the top floor of like a one-story building, but they couldn't fly like couldn't fly for long. Let's just say they could just kind of boost themselves. My cat won't eat chicken. Mega Man. Mine's a reverse. My cat loves chicken. When we get the chicken out, he's going bonkers. But he's sort of meh on fish, but he likes his chicken. Been to Vietnam, didn't see these chickens. Yeah. I guess they supposedly bred these chickens to be that creepy, but never heard of it till recently. There's just so many of these weird bred creatures now all of a sudden. Then they just look really strange. Well, anyways, it's getting late. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been going for about 2 hours, so I think it is getting time to wrap this up. So, anyways, you guys, thanks for coming as usual, and thank you for a lot of good stuff. Shari D, Ghosty333, everybody who came up with some good stuff to add to the show. I appreciate that too. So, anyways, this is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline. Thank you, everybody.